Hi everybody, welcome back to the Haunted Sky. I know, surprise! I have a new video for you. It actually came about because someone was trying to, somebody asked me a question the other day, and I was like, oh yeah. I don't know if I've ever actually said that on this channel. I've said it in interviews, but not sure if I ever said it in the channel itself. First of all, I want to welcome Don. Hi, Don, who is the newest member of my Patreon, and I would very much like to invite you to become a member as well. It is... Oh, what is it? I don't even know. It's Haunted Sky. Go to Patreon, look up the Haunted Sky, and you will find me. I'm glad I looked that up for myself. But so somebody was asking me. They said it all started from a misunderstanding. I misspoke in the last video, and they said, "Well, why do they take so few men in relation to women?" And what I had said in the video where I misspoke, and I want to correct that here. And by the way, you're going to hear my air conditioner. I gave my cats some catnip. Like, life is happening here, okay? And I'm sorry, you're just going to have to bear with me. It's 8:30 p.m. and it's still 91 degrees Fahrenheit outside. So it is sweltering. And I'll try to edit out the noise as best I can, but please just be understanding, okay? So anyway, it came from a misunderstanding where I misspoke in the video and I said 0.07% of males are abducted. I did not. That is incorrect. Okay? My impression that I got from Phil Schneider, and that also ties in with what I was told by these beings, is that of all the people who are abducted, okay, 0.07% are male, which means 99.93% of all abductees, and especially repeated abductees, are female. Now, and he said, well, how, that doesn't, I don't know if that makes sense. And I was like, well, if you think about it, it really does. Because if your goal is genetics, if your goal is breeding of any kind, well, women can only really fertilize one egg at a time, right? But a male can fertilize millions of eggs with a single ejaculation. And he said, well, why does that matter? And I was like, well, because what you do is you narrow down the genetics to exactly what you want. And once you find that prime candidate, well, now you don't need so many males, right? You need very few males in relation to females. And he said, okay, but why are they doing that? To what end? And not reading the book. Okay, strike one now. And I do talk about this in the book, and I think I have talked about this in interviews. But here's the problem. Here's why they're doing all this. So, of course, like other abductees, I have asked them, why are you doing this? And they actually did answer me and gave me what I believe to be a truthful answer, because it lines up with other things that maybe we'll get into. So I asked him, why are you doing this? And in response, I got a question from this gray male. He said, what do you do when evolution stops being your friend? And I was like, yeah, my eyebrow did that thing. And I was like, I don't understand, because I'm like, evolution is your friend. Evolution is what keeps pushing you to improve. And he said, not always. And what he explained to me is that they are an ancient species, and that they have evolved extremely far up the ladder. Their brains, especially. And what has happened to their species is that their brain is evolving on like a runaway train that they can't control. And as their brain gets larger, their bodies get smaller and weaker and more frail. And now it is getting to the point to where the females cannot carry their young to term. They can't give live birth without it killing them. The males are being born sterile, sometimes without genitalia at all. And so their species is experiencing what I can only refer to as an evolutionary backfire or evolutionary blowback, where a part of them is evolving so much more than the rest of them that it is actually tanking the species. This was a thought I could never imagine or dream having, is that evolution would somehow backfire on your species. You would think that it is always a help. And it is only the reason that we think evolution is always a help is because we are so unevolved. We have so much more room to grow. But they've already surpassed their peak, and now they are evolving to the point of extinction. And their goal, their mission, their purpose for taking people like me, for taking taking females and other males, is they are crossbreeding their species with ours. You see, we have big, strong, tough bodies. We have strong immune systems, strong hearts. We're just not particularly intelligent, relatively speaking, to the intelligent species of the universe. And so they are trying to save their species by creating a chimera of us and them, and creating the new species which will carry on their line. And I thought it was important to impart that because I'm not sure that I agree with the agenda. And it also speaks to why that they wish to keep this quiet, to keep it a secret from most people, even the ones that they abduct. You see, while they have taken me and extracted my DNA through different means, and I have shared this, that I even had an encounter where I had sexual relations with one of these female greys. The women, the females that are taken, often have eggs extracted from them. They will have embryos implanted in them. And what they do, and he showed me, he took me around and he showed me, sorry, I was looking for my Trapper Keeper where I have my drawings, but I'll just describe it to you. They have these, he showed me how they have to incubate their young, how they gestate them. And he took me, I got up and he led me into a room, and it had this large, it looked like a bench, kind of like a large bench that was metallic, and it had a back to it, and it had these strange like symbols that I didn't understand. And setting on this bench, for lack of a better term, was a canister. And the canister was about, I don't know, that big. It wasn't very big. It was pretty good size, like this. And it had tubes that went into the bench from the top of the canister. And inside the canister was this greenish, yellowish looking fluid, and it was like backlit, and you could see inside, and inside was a little baby them, what looked to be a fetus. And he said, this is how we have to gestate our young now, because the females, the ones who can conceive are too small to carry the young to term. They can't give live birth or it will kill them. And so this is how we do it. And so what he imparted to me is, like, they'll take my DNA or they'll mix it with a female gray, or they'll take my DNA and they'll mix it with the human female that they choose. And so they make different They make different people for different purposes. And the females, the human females who are taken, are often have eggs extracted from them, or they will have embryos placed in them, and they will incubate and gestate the fetus until it is old enough or developed enough that they can then take it and transfer it into one of these containers where they will strictly monitor the gestation of that fetus until it is at term. And I thought that this was important to tell you because I was absolutely blown away. I was completely dazzled by the explanation. It was something I could never imagine in my life, that evolution would backfire on a species. And the reasoning he gave me rings true. Physiologically, genetically, evolutionarily, it does make sense. It's just something I would have never thought of myself. And then all of the corroborating things that they shared and showed me tells me that this is true. And this is one of the reasons I believe that they keep this as secret as possible, is so that way we cannot interfere. You see, because we have become a commodity, a genetic commodity. And that, so it's like there's 8 billion people on the planet, but they go through and they sort through us and they pick the genetics they want, like picking out the best bell peppers at the supermarket. And they don't want us to know our value to them. They don't want us to be able to interfere. They don't want to compensate us. They don't want any interference on our behalf with their project because they see it as the future of their species to be successful. I had an encounter with an alien gray female. I've had encounters with human females on these ships where they would come in and engage in intercourse with me, and they'd be wearing some kind of helmet or mask that you wouldn't think they'd be able to see through it, but they seemed to move around fine as though they weren't wearing anything at all. And they would, like, I'd be laying on a table and I'm helpless, and they would straddle me and engage in intercourse and leave. And one time, only once, I had one of these encounters with an alien gray female. And it was 5 years after that I had another encounter where I was taken someplace where I previously lived that was uninhabited at the time, and I was introduced to a little boy by what looked to me like one of these gray alien females who was in disguise. She had like a blonde wig, and she was wearing like a dress, and she had on like an overcoat, like a beige raincoat, trench coat type of thing. And she looked very pale, and she was teeny tiny, and she seemed very stern and very like on edge about it. But she brought this little guy to see me. And of course, I hugged him and I loved him up, and I immediately knew he was mine. I just misinterpreted what my son had committed suicide. And I don't know why, but I thought that this was him as a child again. I know that doesn't make any sense, but they kind of keep you like loopy, kinda, to keep you docile when they want to interact with you. They either keep you like out, or they keep you in kind of like this weird kind of dreamlike state where you're awake and you know what's happening, but you kind of don't fully understand what's going on. And they do this to keep you docile. And I was under the influence of whatever that is, And so I accidentally misinterpreted the situation. And then it hit me, oh, this is the product of our meeting, our interaction 5 or 6 years ago. He was the product of that. And they seem to have, they place importance, and of course you've heard these stories. I'm sure if you've looked into the subject at all, about females who are taken and then they're put in a room and then they're shown their offspring. And I never thought that would happen to me because I'm a male. I thought, well, they probably don't care about us, you know. But I guess that it's very important to them to show their offspring where they come from, that they need to meet and see their parents. And that was what that encounter was about, and I didn't realize that until after it happened. And he was beautiful. And I still think about him, and I hope he's doing okay wherever he is. That I thought I had lost everything. And at least I do have that gift, that I know that there is a part of me still out there somewhere. And they told me that, they touched me and said, guardian, in a ceremony that felt like being honored. It's hard not to have mixed feelings about this, because we are being exploited by this species. Let me make absolutely perfectly clear about that. We are being exploited and we are being traumatized. I don't know if we would do differently in the same situation. It's very confusing to know how to feel about this. But what I can tell you is I feel like it's wrong. I feel like it's wrong. And I want to tell you why. Whenever you watch movies, read books, whatever, that has an antagonist and a protagonist, the thing that separates the villain from the hero, in my experience, is how they follow natural law. You see, every villain that I've ever heard of, seen, read, they all have this one commonality. They all wish to usurp or defy natural law. Evolution is natural law. If evolution says it's time to go, then it's time to go. Go gracefully. And they do not wish to do so. They wish to maintain their society. And I believe that this goes back to power or control. Whenever you violate natural law, you have, intentionally or not, you have become the villain in your story. And I do not wish to be a part of violating natural law. Just so you know, this is why other species don't care for us sometimes. See, there's lots of species that come to this planet. I've only ever encountered one, the Greys. But they told me there are other species who come here and they don't all like you. And the reason is because we've been interfered with, that we've been modified by them for this purpose. And it goes back even in history to 10,000 years ago, to 200,000 years ago. That 200,000 years ago or so, he said they tweaked us. They just tweaked us to kind of streamline us a bit. And then about 10,000 years ago, they inserted part of their DNA into us. We are a chimera. We are not a natural species. We are a genetically modified product of these beings. To be human means to be a chimera. And because of that, we are seen as a lesser or lower species. We are seen as an abomination by some of these different extraterrestrials because we did not naturally evolve to our place, and we are seen as garbage to them. We are a trash species to them. But because these Greys are so technologically and intellectually powerful, no one seems to be able to stop them from what they have been doing. And I wanted to take the time to make this video in a calm way. I know that I've been fired up the last couple of videos, and I think justifiably so. We have humans that are assholes, we have aliens that are assholes, but at least the Greys, I understand, even if I don't agree with. I don't understand humans telling you to reach out to aliens with your cell phone and invite exploitation. I don't understand some dickhead in a three-piece suit telling you to try to talk to aliens with a fucking Ouija board. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, they're garbage people, man, who tell you that. And I stand up for what's right, and I stand up for... Look, it's one or the other, okay? It's one or the other. It's either us or it's them. I choose us. And they named me right when they called me Guardian. Just beware of the Guardian, because you don't threaten me or mine without there being severe repercussions. The only question is, where do my loyalties lie? My loyalties lie with you, with humans, with Earth, with us, not them. And anybody who tells you to reach out to extraterrestrials is for them, and they have betrayed you and their own species, their own kind. And I will not betray you. And that's why I want to tell you these things as much as I can before anything might happen. You never know. Sometimes people get got. And what's funny is like people like Stephen Greer, who pretends that people are after him trying to kill him. Bullshit. You think that the government, if they want to get you, that they can't? Oh, believe me, if they want to get me, they can. It's just going to be fucking messy and difficult. That's all. But Stephen Greer, no way. If they wanted to pop that guy, all they have to do is... you know where he is all the time, because he's constantly on trying to get his face on TV or on some interview or this or that, where I shy away from those things now because I don't want to be misrepresented. I do it on my channel the way I want to do it, tell you what I want to say and what I think you need to know. I take charge of it. And believe me, it doesn't pay great. You know? But it allows me to have the freedom that I'm not bought by anyone. You guys support me. You support me. I'm not owned by any corporate sponsorship. I don't bow down to other channels. I refuse to accept that influence, because you will not influence me or influence the truth. And so I hope that you take this information. Oh, and the last thing I wanted to say is that the poll I did today, very interesting. It was either or, right? I said, are these beings trustable, harmless, and approachable, or are they a threat to humanity? And an overwhelming majority, like over 80%, said they're a threat to us. And you're absolutely right. How many horror stories do you have to hear about people being killed, injured, maimed, taken, all this stuff, traumatized, hurt, bruised, marked up, hurt, all these things, before you realize that they're fucking dangerous. Because, and you know why? Because there's no accountability. They can do anything to us, and who's going to stop them? Who's going to do anything about it? The government? Get the fuck out of here. They're enabling them. They're in on it. They are complicit. No government could be this willfully fucking stupid. Do you hear me? So you're either the most inept and incompetent set of individuals to ever be in charge of something, or you're in on it. And these people are in on it. But to the 13% of you, I'm talking to the 13% who said they're harmless and approachable, do it. I fucking dare you. Get your Ouija board out. Okay? Get your Ouija board out and start finger fucking the pulse of the universe, my friend. Okay? And go get your ass abducted. See what happens to you. See if you want to sign up for round 2. Because I bet you won't. I bet you will come over here with your hat in your hand and you will fucking apologize to me. Because I tried to tell you. I told you right. I know what I'm talking about. I know what trauma is. And there is absolutely no way I would tell you that this was bad if it wasn't really, really bad. You think you're ready until you find out otherwise. And I've been taken by them for 40 years. Of those, I remember just over a handful of experiences, and they are traumatizing to a very high extent. Trauma I still deal with on a daily basis. So, the 13% of you who think you know more than I do, go fucking do it. I fucking dare you to go do it. So that way you can come back and tell the rest of us just how wrong you were. I'm sorry. I don't want anything bad to happen to you, which is why I tell you, you see a UFO, go the other fucking direction. You see one of these beings, run. Fight. Claw. Scratch. Bite. Shoot. Cut. I don't give a shit. Get away from them, because they mean you no good. Whatever they're doing, it's going to be about them. And it's not about you. You know, people who have this, oh, they're just trying to reach out and enlighten us. Yeah, they're trying to do that. Then why do they pick just certain people? Why wouldn't they come down collectively, everywhere at the same time, and declare their presence to us and treat us with the respect we deserve as a planet? You know, I find it very interesting and dishonest that, like, the United States is like, oh, well, we don't disclose certain things because of national security. This planet is not a nation. It is an entire world of people. And you are deciding for the entire planet what they should and should not know. Fuck you. We all deserve to know. And I will keep telling you until my last breath. Nothing but the unadulterated and unfiltered truth about extraterrestrials, to the best of my knowledge, from my own experience. Not that, like Stephen Greer, who steals stories from others and incorporates them as his own. Not Tim Tactical, who tells you that if you use a Ouija board, that dancing lizard aliens are going to come visit you. This isn't it's not puppy dogs and rainbows out here in the universe. It is a savage place. And you must be prepared. And it will be your ignorance and your naivete which will be the fucking end of you, my little 13%. Okay? I love you. And I will see you again soon. And I hope that you take the words of this video to heart, because it is important. I'm RL Poole. This is The Haunted Sky, and I'll see you again.